joining us today for What's Your Why Wednesday. I'm Laura Brandeo, and today I am joined by the lovely Dalila Ramos. She is the brand ambassador and taco expert at Planet Home Lending. Dalila, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, we all know most of us have come into the mortgage industry by accident.
Of course.
But we stay in the industry because it is tied to our personal and professional whys. So Dalila, please share with us, what is the why that fuels your goals in the mortgage industry?
Oh, for me, there's a few. Okay, there is a few. One of the main one that sticks out for me is the ability for women of color, because there's not a lot of ladies that look like me out, even to this day. Here we are, 2021, right? And there's not a lot of folks that look like me. On top of that, there's not a lot of folks that come from where I come from, that have the background that I have. And when I don't, when I tell people I'm my hometown of Chicago, they don't know where in Chicago. It's very, I grew up in the 80s. I mean, childhood was projects and heroin. Like, wow. That's the kind of background I have, right? Like, that's what I grew up. But I'm grateful to God because I had the most amazing grandmother anyone can ever have. And she ultimately protected me and kept me away from all that through her hard work and prayers. But I didn't know nothing about home ownership. I didn't know about financial literacy. No one ever taught me about credit, none of that. It was all due to mortgage industry, being in the mortgage industry, staying in it. Well, first stumbling upon it, because
how did you stumble upon it?
So my first job was in 2001 at a title company called Chicago Title. Chicago Title.
And kind of obvious, right?
Yeah, right. And I started off as a receptionist and just kept going from there. To this day, the gentleman, his name is Michael Cusack. To this day, we still reach out to each other. 20 plus years later, he is still there, and I still keep him updated of my accomplishments. And I appreciate that ability to do that. But stumbled upon it, never left, even during the hard times when it really went belly up, right? Mm-hmm. Even through the hard times, I still managed to stay in mortgage, banking, financial industry, and I never left. And I finally, it took like my late 30s into my 40s where I finally realized, okay, this is something, this industry can change lives. It has changed my life by the grace of God, with home ownership, owning multiple properties, being a single woman, being a mother, single mom, being a woman of color. I check a lot of boxes, and if I can do it, I don't feel like it's a secret sauce, Laura. It's like, if I can do it, you can do it. It's just they don't know.
Well, that's my question, Dalila, right? Is that there's so many that just don't know, right? You are part of the environment in which you grow up, right?
Correct.
And God bless grandma that, protected you and kept you safe and kept you kind of, a little, here's my bubble, you have to stay in this bubble, even though there was a lot she was trying to keep out. How do we get to areas, and many different areas, where we bring more people into our industry? And both of us are tied to NAMBA, and we certainly love everything that Tony's doing, and we're on this mission, but it could be so much more, right? We know the impact that our industry can have, life-changing, right? Life-changing. But you're right. Here we are in 2021, and you're correct, Dalila. I have the same issue that I am part of lots of different women's groups, and it's great that we have these women's groups, but there's too many people that look like me. Like, it shouldn't be. Just like it took so long for us to have women's groups, we should also be able to bring in much more diversity all across the board, right?
Yes.
What else can we do?
I think we have to continue to, representation is huge.
Yes.
I know that there's quite a few, I know that being out there with what they're representing, Planet Home Lending, educating the community, really pushing that. And if the person that's really cheerleading,
yes,
looks like the community, it helps. It really does.
Very
then
much so.
They say, okay, she did it. She's where I'm from. She knows the deal.
She understands.
I understand.
She can connect. Right.
And that ultimately forms a relationship, and that relationship grows, and then it just continues from there. But to me, that's huge, because look, I'm going to be real. Chances for me in the beginning to really open myself up, and it coming from someone that doesn't know my background, not from the same environment, that is older, that doesn't look like me, chances are I wouldn't have absorbed that information the way I absorb it from someone like, a Tony Thompson kind of thing, where there's similarities and things like that. And sometimes it bugs me to say that, but it's just true.
No, it's human nature. It's human nature. Take the individual out of it. It's biology, right? It's the way our brains connect.
Yes.
I mean, it's just it's very hard to relate to someone that isn't from the same, that looks the same, sounds the same, from the same area. It's like us speaking to someone from another country. It's hard to relate, for someone in another country. It's the same thing. So I think you're spot on, that you're correct, that if you are going to go out into the communities and pull forward, you have to send people that fit into that community to give that comfort. And it's funny that I told the story at the conference we were just at, that when I got up on the stage for the first time, women came up to me. Now, I didn't think anything special, but in that audience, those women hadn't seen a woman mortgage executive. It just so happened. And I was that first person they saw. We all can be that person.
Yes, we can. And we need to really continue for them to hear that, because I feel a lot of us don't hear that. I think if you hear it consistently across the board, all of us, not just saying Planet Home Lending, or all other companies, if we're consistent with it, the message gets heard. And it's up to that company whether they want to really embrace and take that message and do it justice. That's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. That's okay too. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So. I agree. Mm-hmm. Well, we spoke about the impact, the monumental impact that we as individuals have with touching other people's lives.
Yes.
Listen, our industry has blessed both of us, have blessed our families, but it's farther reach than that. So, Dalila, can you share a story where you felt there was a monumental impact made within our industry with someone else?
Laura, there are so many moments that I have. I'm going to really touch on two recently, because I feel sometimes we forget. We get so caught up in the day-to-day that we sometimes forget. And I am so grateful that there's these little moments that bring me back and kind of remind me, hey, you're doing good. You're on the right path. Keep going, girlfriend. You're doing good. I sometimes forget. I question sometimes, am I doing enough? Could I have done something more or better for this person? How did I not help this person? And then I'm going to read a few messages that I recently received. And one was actually last week, right before, I think it was last Tuesday, because it was taco related. And she wrote, "Happy Taco Tuesday. I was unemployed for nearly a year after 20 years of faithful devotion. It was not fair but I am now so happy with the company I'm with. Your live lunch taco meetings and your interaction really meant a lot to me. Thanks for taking that step. You are an inspiration. I don't, this was on LinkedIn. I don't know really this person, apparently, you know, but I thanked her.
But you meant something to her.
I did. And again, it was another, hey, you're doing all right, girl. Like, you're doing good. And then one of my really good friends, I helped get her back into the industry because she was in the industry before, but you know, there was a gap, and there was life circumstances and things like that. So we try to get her back in during this time, Laura. You know, it's very challenging. It could be, right? So we got her back in here, and she told me, you know, you are, she was inviting me over to the house. It's here local in Orlando. She goes, you are a huge part of me getting this house at this time, and I'm grateful for you.
Oh.
And so, I mean, and she got her house. She told me, we met at a NAMBA event, and we stayed in contact, became friends. I mean, I go out with her here in Orlando, helped her with getting a position. The position she was in, she did great, and she got pre-qualified and got her house and moved in just a few weeks ago, and it is gorgeous. And I'm so I'm just so happy. I'm so happy.
All right, so Dalila, I have to ask you my final question, and yes, it's the deep question of, so what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want it to be?
I just want, you know, when that moment comes, when I stand before God, and I hope I have used every single talent that he gave me, that I didn't leave nothing behind, that I used everything he blessed me with. What a blessing.
What a blessing is that? Because we all have these gifts that we were born with, unique gifts, right?
Yes.
None the same, right? It's all different variations, right? Even if it's similar. And you're right. How many people go through life not actually utilizing every one of those gifts?
No, everyone has something that they are, you know, their God-given ability, their talent. And when you recognize it and find it and you use it, man, do you just, you fly.
And it just feels right, right? That's how you know. That's how you know that you got it.
Yes.
It's just, you are in that zone. It is right.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right, Dalila, you are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your why. Continue to be awesome and continue to make those positive impact on the world. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Laura.